Welcome back, my students, to Comic Class, and in today's video we're continuing our Nick Spencer The Amazing Spider-Man run with Volume 4, Hunted, and this is the fourth installment, basically in Nick Spencer's run, and this is possibly considered one of the best story arcs that Nick Spencer has written. So without further ado, guys, I think we should just jump right into the video. Yeah, let's get on to it. So our story pretty much starts off with this hunter, group of hunters, basically these two men that basically get attacked by Craven the Hunter. Now Craven basically took out the first dude, and the second dude is basically telling him that he'll pay him all the money that he wants. And Craven basically, tells this dude that he is not in, his city life. Basically, he's in the jungle, and in the jungle only the strong will survive. And it's an amazing moment because it shows Craven's character. Now Craven tells this dude that he is not going to kill him, but he wants to make him into a hunter, and this is basically the premise of the arc, but we'll dive more into that. Now this is where we're revealed to what exactly happened. Craven was brought back to life by somebody, and he used this opportunity to live his life in the Savage Land, and basically created some clones of himself, some artificial sons basically. Now he had those sons go off on missions to kind of show their worth to him, and basically one of the sons comes back and basically kills all the other sons to prove to his father that he is the true heir to his throne, basically the true perfect clone of his father. And Craven basically welcomes him with open arms and tells him that he'll teach him everything he knows to make him into a worthy successor, because he's the only one left now. So he's going to inherit his kingdom basically. Now this is where we're sent forward in time basically, and we're seeing Craven's son Craven basically attending this type of party with Arcade, basically telling these rich people that he has a super big surprise for them. And this is where it's revealed that the people that we have been getting captured in the last 3 volumes of all these animal-based Spider-Man villains are basically here in this type of cage, and Arcade's basically saying that you're gonna have the chance to hunt these creatures, these people, these super villains. And Craven does mention that the grand hunt is upon them. Now Craven basically is showing his son what he has done, how he has had Taskmaster and the Black Hand basically capture all these superpowered villains, and he has them in this type of cages to be hunted. It's going to be an amazing story, guys. So we get to see that the Lizard basically wakes up, and his wife tells him, Martha tells him that that Billy's gone. Now Billy had went out to try to sneak out and go to some sort of party. This is where he's kind of like outed as being a reptile freak, and he runs for his life. And this is where Kurt Connors basically tells Peter that if he can go and try to save Billy from getting hurt. So Spider-Man, despite being sick in this story arc, goes on the case because he does care about Billy Connors, and he knows how much that means to Kurt Connors. Is that's his son. So Spider-Man goes out despite being sick. This is where Billy is captured by the Taskmaster and the Black Ant and taken away to Craven. Now Spider-Man basically realizes that something's gone wrong, that Billy has been captured. So Spider-Man just goes after them. Now this is where we're introduced to the Black Cat in this story arc, where she is making a burglary basically, and she's having a pretty good heist. This is where she's confronted by Hammerhead and told about some sort of plan that is happening. Now after this, we get to see that the Black Cat actually finds Billy Connors in some sort of cage. This is where the Black Cat is basically attacked by the Black Ant, and their battle is pretty cool. We get to see a lot of action scenes with the Black Cat fighting against Taskmaster and the Black Ant, and these panels are really well drawn. Eventually Black Cat realizes that she's outmatched, so she sends a message through this little spider tracer or spider invention, and basically sends it to Spider-Man. And this is where she's knocked out by Taskmaster, which I'm surprised I did not kill her by breaking her neck. But yeah, so she's captured. Spider-Man basically gets the Spider Tracer from, the Black Cat, and now he knows their location, so he's gonna go after them. This is where we're revealed to Kraven, basically, talking about his hunt, basically, and what he is, what he has become, and what he feels like he needs to become in the future. We get to see that Spider-Man basically starts to go after Black Cat and Billy Connors, because now he knows Billy is in the same spot as Black Cat because of what Black Cat had told him. And yeah, this is where we can see the Black Cat and Billy Connors basically having a discussion with each other, kind of showing like a motherly side to her and taking care of Billy Connors. This is where Kraven introduces himself to them, basically says that he's going to use them as bait for Spider-Man, and it's pretty cool. Now Kraven does mention to Black Cat and Billy that Black Cat thinks that Kraven wants to fight Spider-Man on his own, but it's actually revealed by Kraven that that is not the case. This is where we're showed the Spider-Man going in this type of area where there's a ton of gas. This is where we're revealed to Kraven's son, who's going to take on Spider-Man. And yeah, I mean, Spider-Man even mentions that this Kraven looks way younger, bigger, and maybe definitely faster. This is where we get an awesome battle scene with Kraven's son versus Spider-Man. Just a ton of action, a ton of good dialogue, and the battle is pretty brutal, guys. Like, Spider-Man's like really going in, trying to fight this dude. If you remember, Spider-Man's fought Kraven a ton of times, but Kraven's been getting older. This son is basically like a prime version of what Kraven would be. Maybe even younger than what Kraven was when he fought Spider-Man the first time they ever met. And this shows that he just completely, beats up and just beats Spider-Man. I mean, his mask is coming off and everything. And yeah, so basically, Kraven's son beats Spider-Man and takes him to the part that the hunt is going to happen to. And this is where Kraven says the hunt begins. And yeah, this is where the story arc just really takes off, guys. Spider-Man is placed into his black suit by Kraven, I'm guessing, or his son. And this is where we're shown that Spider-Man is in this area of the park that's been completely closed off with a force field to fight against these hunters. And yeah, this is where he meets all the supervillains that Kraven has captured. And it's an amazing panel seeing all these enemies of Spider-Man. They really want to kill him. But this is where we're revealed to the hunters basically attacking the superpowered hero and his villains. And yeah, the hunters are basically machinery that are being controlled by like VR tech by these hunters, or businessmen slash rich guys. Yeah, and it gets pretty brutal, guys. I mean, these guys are not playing around. They have guns, they have bow and arrows. They just have everything that you would think of for lethal force. And you have to remember, some Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery are not bulletproof, so they are definitely gonna die if they can't get a handle on things. So they all make a run for it, considering how many hunters there are. I mean, you can see in this panel, it's a lot, maybe 50 of them or so. And yeah, so they just start taking people out. Basically, they start shooting everywhere. This is revealed to the first death in the series, where this guy is given VR glasses to one of the hunting suits, and basically he uses that hunting suit to fight against the iguana, and he kills him like in cold blood. It's a brutal scene. I mean, the way the dude reacts just really gets under your skin, because they're literally cheating. They're not doing it themselves. They're using these superpowered mechanical devices to defeat these supervillains. And it just seems super unfair because they don't feel like they're in danger at all. So yeah, so basically Arcade's just making a fortune off of this. He says who wants to be next to kill somebody, and he's just making a fortune off of their profits, basically. This is where he built to Mary Jane basically at their apartment, basically just worrying about what's happening in New York City. And some of the Avengers, I'm guessing, are trying to get into the force field. It's not working. I'm guessing people like Thor aren't there to kind of break it, just Thor's overpowered. It looks like you can see Iron Man and other heroes in this panel. And yeah, so Mary Jane's kind of worried. We go back to the action though, and people are getting murked, guys. I mean, this story arc really goes in. How some of his Rogues Gallery is just getting killed off, and it's pretty sad. Spider-Man tries to save one of his friends called Gibbon, which is a type of like ape type dude. And yeah, so the battle continues on. I mean, they're fighting their heart out, trying to survive. Taskmaster and the Black Ant kind of, they talk about how much they are making off of this deal. This is where Taskmaster betrays Black Ant because he is an animal-based roads villain, and he leaves him there to be hunted. And was, he even told him that he had to make them pay him double because he really did care about the Black Ant. But he really wants to buy that beach house in Belize. So, that's Taskmaster. But we'll see later on that Taskmaster's trying to play both sides, it seems, so yeah. But yeah, so we're seeing that Kindred basically arrives and he's taking care of Mary Jane, making sure no one attacks her while Peter is gone. So it's pretty weird, but I can't wait to see what Kindred is more about. They're slowly giving hints, I'm guessing, each arc until we get to the last remaining story arc, I'm guessing, but we'll see. Anyway, so we go back, and the ape dude that Spider-Man tried to save, Gibbon, he basically, is pleading for his life, and this is where, the guy says that this isn't fun and that we're supposed to be hunting vicious animals, psycho killers and whatnot. This guy couldn't hurt a fly, but he doesn't care. The other dude, and he says, we're just gonna kill him and put him out of his misery, and they shoot him in the head while Gibbon cries for his life. It's a pretty sad scene. This leads us into a scene where Spider-Man arrives and sees what happens to Gibbon. Basically tries to find out what happened, but Gibbon basically got shot in such a way to where he couldn't talk anymore. And it just really hits you in the feels this moment, because Spider-Man really cared about this guy and saw a future where he wasn't a villain. I don't even think he was a villain at this point in time. He was just unfairly put in this cage, this force field, and now he's been killed. And yeah, he sheds his final tear and dies, with Spider-Man in silence because he couldn't talk and Spider-Man couldn't understand what he wanted to say. And it's just, man, you can, like, even though Spider-Man wears a mask, you just feel the emotion. And Gibbon's last words is that it's not too bad because at least no one's laughing at him. He's always been made fun of his whole life for looking like a monkey, basically. And man, yeah, this scene just like hits you hard. Especially me, like, I've never even knew about this character, but just seeing the way like he really tried to get out of there, and he didn't even want to fight the hunters, and he was killed as an innocent person, just really hits you. But we go into the Black Cat, basically having an idea with the guard to get Billy out of there, and she basically, puts her plan into action. So Kraven basically talks to his son not understanding what Kraven's end goal is, because he just wants, Kraven to get all the glory. He doesn't understand why Kraven would give the hunters this opportunity to take what's rightfully his, but Kraven just tells them, to wait. So we get to see that Gibbon's dead, and, it's just a sad scene. And, we get to see that Spider-Man basically, is taking his body somewhere, but this is where Spider-Man has to fight his way out. He has to leave Gibbon behind and survive this. So he fights against these hunters, and he's just, going in, basically. Eventually he gets to, Rhino, and he tries to attack him, but this is where Rhino is stopped by the Vulture, basically telling him that they need Spider-Man. We get to see the Black Cat basically put her plan into action by getting the guard mauled by one of the animals, and this lets Black Cat get them out of the cage, and Billy to have to trust her to get them out of there. It's a pretty cool scene. You get to see that Taskmaster has brought the Lizard to Arcade, and it looks like things are getting a lot more serious because the Lizard seems to be a lot more savage right now. At least that's what it seems at this point. And we get to see that that one of the hunters basically tries to take on Spider-Man. He wants to kill him. And this is where Spider-Man just like loses control. He's running off of emotion right now because his friend just got killed. Gibbon didn't deserve to die, and now, they want to kill Spider-Man, so he just starts, beating on this guy. But the Black Ant basically stops him and tells him that there's a lot more going on than what he understands, and that, these people are actually real people, like, that they can die even though they're not physically in the suits. This is where we get to see that Taskmaster is working with the Lizard in a way, and basically, is trying to get him to get to his son, because I guess the Lizard's paying something to him, or I don't know, I kind of forgot. But yeah, basically he's like double crossing. He's playing both sides. I can't remember if he's helping him completely or not. But we can see that Billy and Black Cat are, finally getting an escape out, and this is where they're attacked. Craven's son basically tells Craven that he doesn't understand why Craven is letting all this happen with the hunters, and that he feels like Craven is actually getting weak. So he's gonna go out there and defend his father's honor himself. And we can see that Craven's really weighing down on himself because he doesn't want his son to feel this way about him, but he's gonna stick to his plan. We get to see that the guards are basically attacking. Well, not guards, the hunters are basically attacking the Black Cat, and he doesn't go through with killing Billy because he understands that he's just a kid. And he says this wasn't supposed to be the way things were with kids, being in here. He thought he was just going to be fighting super villains. So this is where we're shown that Craven's son basically takes on the lizard. And, this is where, the Craven basically tells the lizard that he's not using his full strength. He's not acting like a true animal because the lizard has this chip that inhibits him from going berserk, basically. Which is pretty cool. We get to see that, Craven's son basically leaves the lizard on the ground. It says he's gonna go and kill his son. So pretty savage. I mean, Craven's son really has no chill. We get to see that the guy that said that he wasn't gonna kill a kid basically is trying to get out of there, basically telling Arcade this isn't what he signed up for. And this where Arcade reveals that the virtual link cannot be severed and that it stays with you. And this is where the supervillains basically attack this dude. I mean, they flat out like just they gang attack him basically, and they rip off his head. And one thing that the Black Ant reveals to Spider-Man, again, as I said earlier, is if you die in here, your machinery, it does something to your brain to kill you. And yeah, the dude's dead, and the people are freaking out because now they understand the stakes are not what they thought. And this is where Spider-Man is told, well, not told, but he kind of figures out that this is Craven's plan. He wants all the hunters to die. He wants them to kill themselves, basically, because they have no chance to beat these supervillains if they work together. He wants everyone to kind of feel this pain. And yeah, so Craven basically is called out by Spider-Man to show up. And yeah, this is where Craven reveals that he actually has, these set of, I think they're called vermin or something. And yeah, it's a whole group of them, and they just flat out attack Spider-Man. They're ripping him to pieces, basically. And yeah, it's a pretty brutal scene. Now, after this, we get to see that one of the villains basically tells the Vulture, who is playing a sort of like a leader role in this, war with the hunters, basically tells them that there's been a ton of casualties on both sides. So that really, confirms to us that both sides are feeling damage, and a lot of the Rogues Gallery are basically dead. But Vulture basically just smiles and says the sacrifices must be made. We get to see that Craven saves Spider-Man from dying from the vermin, pack. And this is where Craven basically takes Spider-Man to kind of like heal him to get ready for the final battle. Now, Spider-Man is in like this type of chain around his neck, and basically is, wondering why Craven left him alive. This is where we reveal to Kurt Connors, basically telling Spider-Man that this is all a plan by Craven to see how far they will go to save the people they love, if they will kill if it's necessary. And this is, so we're basically seeing Kurt Connors basically telling Spider-Man that he understands what Billy understands, and that he's just a clone. He has the original soul of the original because of Doctor Strange, I'm guessing, by what they said in the story arc. But his body's a clone. He understands that they basically killed, Kurt Connors killed his own son. He killed him. So this already reveals Craven's son basically arriving to Black Cat and Billy, and basically is saying that he's gonna kill them. And that the Black Cat shouldn't tell him that she can protect him when she can't. Don't make promises he can't keep. A pretty savage line. Spider-Man basically is told by Kurt Connors he needs to take off the inhibitor chip so that he can go berserk and save his son. Spider-Man says that this could actually kill Kurt, or worse, it could kill Billy if he goes berserk and eats him again. But Kurt promises that he will control it, and Spider-Man takes the risk and rips it off of Kurt. And this is where we get this awesome scene with Craven basically just smiling and saying that, he has passed the test and now you are ready to face the Hunter, which is set to the final battle, which is epic. So Lizard just goes berserk and he gets out of there as fast as possible. And with, Craven's son basically trying to go on and attack Black Cat and Billy, Spider-Man says, rise, Kurt, basically, and Kurt just rises with his berserk state and just crashes through the building. This is where Craven allows Spider-Man, right on cue, allows him, breaks the chain around his neck automatically, letting Spider-Man come on and face him, because now this table has been set for the final battle. And yeah, this is where Craven reveals himself to Spider-Man basically outside and tells him that this was the test. And Spider-Man basically attacks Craven in their final battle again, saying that, how many times have you killed this time, you psychopath? And yeah, and this is where Craven says a very good monologue, basically, saying that Spider-Man is actually indirectly, responsible for the deaths of all those soldiers, those guards that were outside guarding them, because the Lizard actually killed all of them. And this is where Spider-Man realizes that Craven's kind of right. It is kind of on his hands for what happened with the Lizard and the guards. So, he's just his mind's just getting, completely warped. And Spider-Man just doesn't want to accept this. But, basically Craven says to Arcade to tell Spider-Man his orders. And he basically tells Spider-Man that if he kills Craven, he will deactivate the force field. And he will send his drones in to save Billy Connors and the Black Cat. Also, he will shut down the Hunter bots. So basically everyone will be saved as long as Spider-Man kills Craven. And yeah, and he says, thank you. Now leave us, Craven says to Arcade, so that they can have their final battle, and here we go. So basically, Spider-Man just says, you want to see strong, and he launches this awesome punch on Craven, and then you just start going at it. Spider-Man just starts punching Craven, just letting out his power. And when he's about to land the final blow, he realizes that he can't do this. He cannot give in to what Craven wants. But after he decides this, he realizes that the slashes on the guards are not that of the Lizard, and that they're not completely brutally, mangled, but they were all cut, in a clean cut, around the neck or something like that, in a row, with a knife. So it was actually Craven who did this and was setting Spider-Man up to kill him in the guise of the Lizard actually killing the guards. So this is where Spider-Man hates Craven, as Craven asks what he's doing. It says that he wants him to watch what's about to happen. So Craven's son and the Lizard finally meet up and they go at it. And Craven's son gets defeated by the Lizard, and the Lizard does not kill him. And this is where, he says that this is what makes us stronger, and this is why we'll never be the same. Spider-Man refuses to kill Craven. The Lizard refuses to kill Craven's son, and they're going to show them that that isn't what it means to be stronger. This is where Craven basically laughs at Spider-Man and he says, what's so funny? And he says, I finally understand, don't you see? I finally understand. This is where he tells Arcade basically to release the Hunter bots and, just let everybody go. And this is the end basically of the hunted part of the arc. And yeah, so all these people got very lucky. They didn't get murked by the supervillains, because they were really going at it both sides. And the Vulture says that he led them all to victory, which is a comedic moment. Yes, the Vulture's supposed to be kind of comedic character now, and Ned Spencer's run, which is okay. I mean, he is kind of comedic, comedic character. This is where he reveals Craven, and he tells Spider-Man to get out of here. And Spider-Man does mention that last time he left, that Craven killed himself, suicide, of the story arc Craven's Last Hunt, which I will cover on this channel hopefully in the next week, because I really do want to cover that after covering this again. So basically Craven promises that he won't hunt again, and this is where we're shown Craven basically going to the coffin and laying down, I guess, his rifle and a note. And yeah, we see Spider-Man running. And this is where Spider-Man is shown to be going up against Craven's son, and they start fighting really cool action scenes while we're getting flashbacks or being shown Craven putting the note in the gun with the coffin. And yeah, so basically the fight is going on, and eventually Kraven's son comes out victorious. Basically we get to see Kraven at the end putting Spider-Man's outfit in the, well, I don't think he's putting it in there, I think it was in there or something like that. Yeah, and then it's revealed whenever Kraven's son takes off the mask of Spider-Man that it was actually Kraven the Hunter. And he lets out a cry saying, "Father, no." And yeah, this is where we're shown the coffin with it now not having the Spider-Man black costume outfit, but now it has the gun and the note. And this note is actually a picture and a note, I'm guessing, with the picture showing Kraven with all his sons, showing that he really did care about all of them, despite, you know, being proud of his one son. This leads to the end of the arc, basically with Kraven being put to rest by his son. His son kind of like goes into a huge fit of anger, just wants to destroy everything. We're shown that the Savage Six is created, I'm guessing, with the lights of the Scorpion, the Tarantula, the Vulture, the Rhino, the Triceratops looking dude, and this Serpent dude, I'm guessing. I don't know what those two are. Yeah, so that they're created. You just see that Billy Connors is reunited with his mom Martha, but Kurt kind of like lost his, you know, his humanity, I'm guessing, or he's gonna have to fight to control it now that the chip is gone. So I'm not sure if he trusts himself to be with his family now. So that was pretty, you know, emotional moment. You see Spider-Man arrives, you know, to see his wife MJ. I think they're married. Not sure if they're married or not. They're just dating. But yeah, they're living together. But you know, he arrives, sees that she's hurt, but it's revealed that she just slipped and fell and cut herself. And the arc pretty much ends with Spider-Man giving her a kiss, basically saying, you know, Kendra basically saying, "I'm disappointed in you, Pete," showing that, you know, he still doesn't believe, I guess, in him or something. I don't know, it's pretty weird. And Kraven's son basically finds a note in the shotgun, and the note basically is just telling Kraven's son that he knew this was his fate. This is what it was all planned, basically, that he was gonna murder himself or get murdered by his son. That was like the ultimate honor for him, and he wants his son to continue on because he's ready now. He's proven himself that he needs to become and take on the Kravinoff name and become Cersei's, I believe is his name, and basically he is going to become the new Kraven the Hunter. He is Kraven the Hunter, as you know, Kraven says, "You are Kraven the Hunter," and it says the hunt begins, and that's the end of the story arc. We have like this little extra after that with the chameleon revealing himself at Kraven's grave, basically saying that he's going to turn the whole world on its head. So I don't know. I mean, I have this theory, to be honest. I thought of it last night that maybe the chameleon is Ginger. Like I said, I'm not completely caught up with Spider-Man. I'm actually going through it once I get caught up to where I was at when I took my hiatus. But right now I'm not jumping into it until I get to the part I was on with these videos. So yeah, I really don't know who Kindred is. But I don't know, I have a theory it might be the chameleon, but please don't spoil me in the comments. But yeah, but let's talk about Hunted, guys. So Hunted as a story arc was fantastic. Like, I knew it was good, but when I was getting the material for this video and I was reading through it a little bit, I just remembered how good this actually was when I first read it, and it's probably even better the second time you read it because you kind of understand it a lot more and can take more of it in. You know, you can enjoy it a lot more because you already know what happens. And yeah, like the action's perfect in this, the story is just fantastic, the art is consistent most of the time, and when it does get a little wonky, it's not even that bad. Overall, Hunted is the best story arc so far that I've read of the Nick Spencer run, is I've read up to, I think, volume 8. But yeah, so I still need to read volume 9, 10, and 11 that are out. And, you know, I will be covering that in this retrospective / you know, run review. But, you know, as so far, I think Hunted is just so well done, and I wouldn't be surprised if it is still the best art that he has written, because it's going to be hard to top this, guys. But, you know, Hunted, it's an amazing story arc. As always, we'll have the link down below to go check it out on Commentology. Go support your comments legally. And yeah, it would just be amazing if you did that. Trust me, you need to read Hunted. Amazing story arc, amazing Spider-Man story. I'm gonna be reading the Kraven's Last Hunt probably sometime next week, and I will hopefully have that video out next week because I need to make it Because this sequel, because the sequel to that story is so good, I need to read the original, because I have heard it's one of the greatest story arcs / Spider-Man stories of all time. Maybe even comic stories. That's gonna be all, guys. If you're new to the channel, I review Marvel and DC and Image volume / trade paperback reviews only. I don't really do issues, because I just prefer the volume format / trade paperback format. So that's mainly what I'm going to be doing on this channel. I am going to be doing some discussions too with comments, or I might even do recommendations for stuff, because I am checking out some very old first time comics, basically like when comics first started. I want to do like a kind of series talking about those to give them more exposure. That's going to be all, guys. Until next time, God bless you, and remember, until the next lesson, guys, keep on reading.
I am who I'm meant to be. I am who I'm meant to be. Over and out, again. My future needed clarity, so I could see how you